Welcome to VeeamON Wrapped. I want to give you my personal top 5 highlights from the recent VeeamON Global Launch Virtual Event. I'm Rick Vanover, the Rickatron. I've been at Veeam a long time, but I still get excited about these innovations, these milestones, this company news. This is an incredible time to be here with us at Veeam. So let's jump right into it. Number one, I am super happy to report that the launch event was the big reveal for Veeam Data Platform version 13. We launched it at the event. It is generally available. It is awesome. This product has been innovated and iterated and scaled and expanded all this time, and version 13 is the one you want to check out. So I got a couple resources before we jump into it. Now, you might be saying, I'm just watching this VeeamON Wrapped video, but how do I watch everything? Well, if you go to veeam.com, trust me, you can't miss it. Once you go in there, go to watch the VeeamON Global Launch Virtual Event, and you'll have a great library on demand of all the content you want to see. Most of the cool, amazing stuff is here in the keynote, the new era of data resilience, but all of these breakouts, really good way to get incredible information across the product portfolio, our partner programs, and security stuff and more. And I'm probably forgetting something, but it's all right there. But let's go to Anton. I want him to tell you about my favorite part of Veeam Data Platform.
With version 13, we have a single cross-platform code that can run both on Linux, which is what enables us to deliver it as a Veeam software appliance, as well as we continue to offer self-managed installable software for Microsoft Windows, right? And it doesn't matter if you choose one or another, you still get version 13 with its almost 30 pages worth of what's new document of just new features. And I just want to highlight a few of them, right? We already talked about next-gen scalability, modern web UI. We're expanding our role-based access system model, so to say, with the customer roles, where you can now create custom roles as well with the prescribed scopes, which is very powerful, right? We talk about XAML, new capability of instant recovery to Microsoft Azure. That's, I think, is like really a gem in terms of, it's really a rocket science to deliver, because if you ever tried using public cloud, nothing is faster, right? If you go provision a VM, it takes a few minutes, right? You start it takes a few minutes just to starting, right? So to get less than 5 minutes to put screen, and that's for Windows OS, and I believe it's around 3 minutes for Linux OS, is simply incredible that our developers were able to deliver such recovery times. Universal CDP, if you're using our continuous data protection today, you know it's limited to VMware vSphere as a source. With version 13, we're providing also agent-based data retrieval on the source side, which means you can now use CDP for any type of machine, physical, virtual, and any other hypervisor, not just VMware, and cloud VMs, right, as a source. And very powerful. It's very polished engine we have today. Our CDP, it's been on the market for a few years now. We're just expanding to support even more source workloads. And finally, last but not least, high availability for software appliance. Again, something many of our enterprise customers wanted to see, and I'm very happy to be able to deliver this with the team in version 13. So you're probably wondering, I'm talking a lot and still didn't mention AI. Yeah, of course we use AI, but where it makes sense, right? AI is great when you have a lot of data to process, to summarize. That's why I feel you're going to love our new, what we call Morning Coffee Report. I think the official name is Data Resiliency Daily Summary, right? So it solves a very simple issue. Today, when you open your mailbox in the morning, you're greeted by probably 10, 20 job email reports, some maybe 200, right? And it takes a while to go through them. So that's where AI is really helpful, right? So if you enable this option, what we do is we can feed all this information about jobs, summarize it, identify the top issues you have to address, and then actually cross-reference those issues to our support KB article and maybe give you like some actionable details immediately what to do, what's most important things you have to do about your environment, right? So that's just one example. We give you more control over AI. Now there are very simple options.
That was amazing. And what I love about the freedom of choice when it comes to these platforms is like, we have the opportunity to go in that Linux Veeam software appliance model, pre-built, pre-hardened, and predictable, or we can have installable Windows software, which we've had for all this time, incredible flexibility options for Veeam. But let me show you something that I think is a really helpful resource for everyone right now with Veeam Data Platform. I want to draw your attention to the Upgrade Center. That's at our Veeam Community Hub, community.veeam.com. You can't miss it. It's pinned up here at the top, right? The Upgrade Center. I walk through a whole bunch of information for you, frequently asked questions, some of the resources and links, how to download, some information about licensing, all the top questions that you're going to have before you go in. Highly recommend you check this out, and I'll jump down a little bit to probably the most important part, which is kind of some characteristic options. How can you deploy Veeam Data Platform with these two consumption models? Check this out. Highly recommended, but before you upgrade, this is super important. It's really time now to get in front of the discontinued and deprecated features. I've updated a few of my systems already. I had to do things like take some of the unmanaged agents, get them upgraded before I could upgrade the Veeam server. Stuff like that. Check this out. It's all here for you. But make no mistake, Veeam Data Platform version 13 is the big news of this VeeamON global launch event. It's available now. Talk to your Veeam team, check out the resources. You might have questions about the migration. Here's the short story for right now. Get upgraded to version 13.01, and that will make you a candidate to go through the migration process to the Veeam software appliance if that's what you're looking for. All right, we're going to keep moving on. I want to talk about the number 2 piece of big news. Hard to pick a number 1, hard to put them in order, but the Veeam and security AI news. I've been here a long time. I've never seen so much interest for news or acquisitions or the like. This is going to be a big deal, folks. Now, we expect this deal to close in the end of this year, this quarter, December of 2025. But what I want to highlight is this is an incredible set of technology. As our CEO, Anand Iswaran, explained, this changes the game. This puts Veeam in an incredibly new and attractive space. But let me show you something that I think is really cool, the data command graph. Let's pass it over to Rehan Jalil and have him show you probably the coolest thing you've never seen.
So journey often actually starts with providing deep contextual intelligence around this data. And our fundamental belief and premise is that across all these systems, a knowledge graph has to be built, which automatically is populated with all the information about inventory of data, all the dots that you see, it automatically are collected first. And then within those dots, things that are problematic or things that potentially could be problematic, they are all automatically highlighted that certain relationships could be toxic and provide an ability for you to find the potential relationships between the data and its file that is actually could be problematic. Essentially, this knowledge graph is all about the relationships that data has with the rest of the environment. It's like a social network of your data. So let's look at the product itself. The first, the coverage. Very broad coverage across public cloud, on-premise, and SaaS, as well as Databricks and Snowflake across everywhere. And automatically, an inventory is created with data in the public cloud, data on-premise, and data in SaaS services. Everywhere you actually have that inventory. Discovery of systems happen in many of these environments in a more automated fashion, down to the level of every file that you have, every site in SharePoint you may have, every table, structured data that you may have, and streaming topics that you may have. In addition to the data, all the AI systems, AI agents that may be getting active, AI models that may be getting active, they're automatically discovered, but that's just the beginning of it. These are a collection of dots, but the most important part is the connection between these dots. What do I mean by that? What I really mean is that if you find an AI model, it's important to find what data it can potentially touch, what data system. In this case, it's showing that it can touch this one object storage. But what is in that object storage? It's highlighting that there are 123 files in this object storage. Well, what type of files are these? Well, these are the type of files and what regulations apply on them. And then what is sensitive inside it? So the point being that you have full visibility and this connecting of things and relationship understanding between dots is automatically done and captured in this knowledge graph. But that's not it. You can rotate it to actually pick upon any one file and say, show me what's in that file and what's the relationship of that file. Who can touch it? It could be a user, could be an agent. Well, in this case, if it's a user or could have been an agent, what could this user or agent see at other data? Rotate it. See that this user has access to 26 data systems with 489 files, with 1,000 tables and 2 streaming topics, and it has sensitive information inside it of 51 different types. You want to go dig deeper? It's just a click away. Well, there are passwords inside it, which this user or agent would have access to. Maybe you want to see password sits where else in the organization. You can rotate the graph and see that. Hopefully you get a point of view that you have very deep contextual intelligence around data that you have in this knowledge graph. It is super useful for understanding the access and permissioning because access of certain kind of data, you want to understand what sensitive information sits in what files and which users will get access. And you can go much deeper view in terms of access graph along the way. But once you have this information on top, you really want to apply policies on it. Policies for access control, policies to automatically label the data based on the classification that is done with a very high efficacy classification that is done. Or you can actually look at some misconfigurations and go fix it on structured, unstructured, and streaming data along the way. On top of it, there are certain things in all organizations like yours, there are regulatory and compliance requirements. And within the platform, the Data Command Center, there are the most important compliance frameworks are just built in. What do I mean by that? Is you have a detailed view of what that particular compliance requirement is, whether it's a HIPAA, whether it's PCI, whether it's ISO, and you can pick upon those compliance requirements, understand them, but automated testing is done on top of these controls. So if you can pick upon any one of these compliance requirements, you're going to see the testing is actually happening automatically to see which tests are passing and which are failing. In this case, 2 tests are failing, and you can dig down, understand why this test is actually failing. This is all powered by the same data command graph that you've seen.
Now, what's awesome about this is there's nothing but potential. I have incredible ideas of what this can do, how you can do more with Veeam and leverage these AI-powered and security-powered technologies. Stay tuned. A lot to come here. All right, moving down, I'm going to go back to Veeam Data Platform. I'm sneaky like that. My number 3 highlight is instant recovery to Microsoft Azure. Now, this is actually kind of amazing. This is actually made better by Veeam Data Cloud Vault. You might remember when we launched that, we said it's a purpose-built storage for Microsoft Azure. We may or may not have been thinking about doing things like this ahead of time, which makes running virtual machines from Azure Blob Storage in a recovery scenario with the transparent migration back to production, right? Move that data from the Blob Storage back to Azure Disk Storage. This is really a powerful capability. But let's go hear from Brad so he can tell us about not just how it works, but why, in the market context of why this is a big capability for today.
This isn't just another checkbox on a product roadmap. Instant Restore to Azure represents a pivotal response to an industry need, where research shows 74% of organizations are underprepared to respond and recover from a cyber incident. In today's cyber resilience landscape, hyperscalers are an attractive option for disaster recovery and cyber recovery. The cloud serves as an ideal second site. Imagine not having to foot the bill for idle compute and storage resources that sit unused 99% of the time, only springing to life in those rare and hopefully never realized moments of crisis. It sounds like a no-brainer. The economics make all the sense in the world. Yet, here's the rub. Before Instant Restore to Azure, there's a gap between what the C-suite expects and what is reality. It might make physical sense on paper, but try asking your infrastructure team to demonstrate a seamless failover to the cloud. Statistics prove this out, as downtime costs Global 2000 companies $400 billion a year. That's $200 million per company. And those are just the actual dollars. That doesn't factor in variables like brand and reputation. Instant Restore to Azure closes this gap between business and technology with fast recoveries to Azure VMs regardless of the source workload. Pair this industry-changing tech with a proper clean room, and your organization's readiness to respond and recover from cyber incidents significantly increases.
If you haven't tried instant recovery in general, you definitely need to. Now you can do it to the public cloud. And this is one of those technologies that's iterated across the stack. Physical agent backups can be restored as virtual machines. Virtual machines can be restored to the cloud. We can also do instant recovery for enterprise application databases, file shares, and more. If you think instant recovery was just virtual machines, you should see the Veeam of today. All right. Enough about that. Let's keep going. Number 4, Veeam Intelligence. I couldn't get out of this without talking about AI. But what I like about this is that this is a capability that transcends the portfolio. Veeam Data Platform and Veeam Data Cloud both have Veeam Intelligence built into them. Now, not everything can do exactly the same thing everywhere, but directionally speaking, this is a capability, an AI, generative AI capability that will transcend the portfolio. Let's hear from Emily Tellez so you can get the latest on Veeam Intelligence and Veeam Data Platform.
Let's start with the foundation. You have Veeam Intelligence that leverages artificial intelligence to revolutionize your backup and recovery operations. By deeply integrating AI across products and services, Veeam Intelligence can automate data analysis, deliver proactive recommendations, and optimize decision-making for IT teams. This means you can unlock actionable insights from your backup and protected data, supporting both cyber resilience and operational efficiency. Now, we brought intelligence directly to the fingertips with our AI-powered chatbot. Trained on the latest technical documentation and support resources, this virtual assistant helps you resolve common issues or answer technical questions about Veeam backup and replication, VeeamON, and more. The result? Targeted, fast support. So your team spends less time troubleshooting and more time innovating. But we didn't just stop there. We've enhanced the Veeam software appliance with real-time, agent-based retrieval across the Veeam Help Center, KBs, forums, and Veeam.com. This means answers are always accurate, they're up-to-date, and sourced directly from official Veeam content. No more searching across multiple sites, just fast, trusted solutions exactly when you need them.
Super amazing stuff, but what I love about Veeam Intelligence is that it's easy to use. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you can refine the answers. It's available in multiple languages, really good stuff. Now, to tell you a little bit more about it, I want to briefly go over to the Veeam Data Cloud implementation of Veeam Intelligence. And it's really important to note that you have really empowered your administrators to get more done, increase productivity, and being really ready for what may come next. And I think it's important to note that this is something that we're going to continue to innovate and iterate. It's a generative AI technology. There's a lot to read about the advanced mode, which it does look at a client's data in particular, especially in Veeam Data Platform. Be curious here. This is a tool that can really help you do more with your environment. All right, number 5 on my list, partnerships and customer success. I like to say that partnerships are in Veeam's DNA. Now, at the VeeamON Global Launch event, partners, make sure that you check out the partner breakout. So if you go back into that on-demand library, it's right here. You can see, get a update from Mike Rao, one of our new leaders there in the space. He can talk to you about some of the priorities coming up for that. But also, it's super important to hear from a field success perspective. Now, we had the chance to bring in Prodatics, and we had Simon from our team talk with them about some really scary stuff when it comes to the resiliency story. And I love what Matt says. It takes an event. Let's hear from how that came to be.
So when we got that call, everyone's blood pressure goes through the roof. We call it the data cyber blood pressure problem. When everybody starts going crazy and everything starts falling apart, one thing that you have to have is what we like to call a continuum. Veeam provides that continuum. We were able to not only start restoring their data, but we were also able to offer them the option to spin up in a public cloud or a private cloud to get that up and going. And the reason that happened, and this is something that's going to scare you, but it's happening again more and more often. When they called us at 1 a.m. to help start recovering, about 15 minutes later, we got a second call and said, stop what you're doing. Well, why is that? They had contacted their cyber liability insurance company, which you normally do because they were asking for a $1.5 million ransom. The cyber liability insurance company told them, step away from your hardware, we are sequestering it, and we are flying out a cyber forensics expert in the morning and go through everything. You might be down for up to a week. So let me ask you this question, Simon. You just got hit by a cyber attack, everyone's blood pressure is going through the roof, you think you can restore because all your data has been deleted, and all of a sudden you can't touch your hardware. How do you restore when your hardware and your data is gone? To be honest with you, without the Veeam solution, sounds like a sales pitch, but it's something that literally helped save this customer from going out of business. We were able to take that immutable backup, we actually moved it offsite to Azure, and they could have done it on a private cloud as well, and we had them up and running quickly, relatively speaking, and got them back up without any errors. That was the beauty of the whole thing. However, had they not had us as a partner constantly working with them, they would never have been able to restore because it's a complicated process. That's why Veeam shines, and that's why certified partners shine.
Fantastic. I love how you had that agility, right? That's one of the founding pillars of Veeam is what we call data portability. So the overall outcome for the customer was a quick restore, and their business was operating efficiently with no major downtime to the organization. What would you say was a lesson learned and some best practice out of that engagement for the customer?
I have to laugh because in order to answer that question, I must quote the immortal words from Randy O'Donnell, who's actually our CTO and our Veeam architect. He has two wonderful statements. The first statement is, it takes an event. Even though we'd worked with this customer, and one customer has outsourced their data protection to us, we helped them with tabletop exercises, training their staff, going through everything, but ultimately, the customer has to do their part as well. But this event changed everything. It made them come back online with holding regular exercises, training their employees, and most importantly, they put together a run book of step-by-step of what to do after a cyber attack happens so they can easily hand it off to a new employee. The second great statement that our CTO Randy says is, data backup doesn't make you any money. And that's true. People think they can just set it and forget it, and we find out that doesn't work. Because if you're not focusing on your backup and you're not giving the resources that department needs, it's going to bite you when you try and restore. So it's true what they say, it does take an event, unfortunately, every time.
Really powerful. When you hear organizations talk about potentially bad things happening to good data, I love that. It takes an event. Really, really good stuff. So I think this is my top 5 VeeamON wrapped pieces of content that you can really get the most out of the VeeamON Global Launch event. But hey, I just did a highlight. If you go to this library, everything from, if you're in Europe, you want to talk about the digital sovereignty play as well as APJ, some of the regulatory complexities, we have it all there. You also can talk about some of the modern virtualization options with Red Hat OpenShift and Veeam Kasten. We have an exclusive deep dive of Veeam Intelligence. We have more about Veeam Data Platform version 13. We have Veeam Data Cloud with Microsoft 365. Friends, there's just so much content. I hope you enjoyed this quick rundown of VeeamON Wrapped, and you can still watch the content through, I want to say mid or late December, but there's no better time to do it now. Go to veeam.com to watch it today.